Hi everybody, my name is Ronaldo Quintero and welcome to this new video tutorial. This time I'll be working with a model as I do in many live drawing sessions around the area where I live. And this is one of the techniques that many of the Disney illustrators have used in the past, and many illustrators are using currently when doing live drawing. When you are doing more of a stylized character design, you want to be able to work with that style as well with the model, and sometimes the models can bring more naturality and more expression to your drawing, and that's what I want to explain in this video: how to mix and get the information from the model and then develop your own drawing on top of that pose, obviously using the model costume or even creating your own costume later on. Many of the drawings here are going to be between 3 to 5 minutes, so that's the time that you usually get at the beginning when you are doing live drawings. Usually start with 3 to 5 and then goes up to 10 and 15 and 20, but for the drawings that I like to do, I rather have like between 3 and 5. 5 will be the ideal time to work with a model, try to get the gesture and then do some drawing on top of that. This time I'll be working with pencils and erasers, and that's it. But sometimes it's good to change the material, work with inks and maybe some brushes, so it's up to you how to want to do this. In my case, I use the pencil because it gives me that flexibility to be more precise with my lines, and then if I like the lines I can go ahead and make it like nicer with ink and all that. So anyway, I hope this video helps you to see another process or another way of doing live drawing. There's a lot of live drawing techniques, and this is the one I have been developing using different techniques and matching them all together to make my style and workflow faster and fun, because it can get a little bit tedious when you're working in live drawing. So anyway, I hope you have fun, and thank you for supporting these videos, and I'll be creating more videos for my channel and for Patreon. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and see you next time. Okay, this process is a little bit simple or sometimes a little bit complicated, and for what I have learned through drawing a lot of the figure through many years is that you have to try to find a way to simplify the pose and try to simplify the shape of the body that is doing that pose. You have to find the right proportions, and you have to be able to measure, placing marks in the drawing, and as you place those marks will help you to measure, you know. So what I see in the model is I see the model and I start measuring, and I start adding masses, and I start measuring points and relate points with other points, okay? And as I figure all of that, I start giving form to the drawing, you know? Because when you see the model, you don't have to completely create a whole structure for it. You can just simplify and add structure and volume where is required. That's how you use the model when you're doing these kind of drawings. When you have that proportion and that pose that you are already like pleased and happy with it, then you go ahead and you start drawing on top of it. You start seeing the model, seeing how the clothes wraps around the form. You see how those lines will help you to describe the angle and how the torso is placed. In this case, is that there is like a pinch on one side and then a stretch on the other side. That makes the pose and that torso to bend, you know, feel that it's bending. Also a center line to describe, like, you know, actually the center line. So the eye, as soon as you place those lines, they start to create that three-dimensionality. So that's why it's important when you draw, is be able to understand those center lines and how the center lines will flow through the body. And then you can start selling a little bit more of that three-dimensionality. And I measure, I try to place the knees where they should be, you know, right spacing, and then I go for the boot. Since the boot is there, I can use the boot to add more shape, and as well the leg and everything. Sometimes I push it a little bit too much, but I think it's fun to do that. That's one of the things that I like to do with these drawings, is to push the proportions, change the face. In this case, not even gonna be looking like the model. It's more like I'm using her face as a reference, and then I drawing my style of like more like a manga style that I can draw quickly and easy, so I can go faster and focus on other areas of the drawing. Because if I was gonna do something more realistic that looks like the model, I have to spend more time in the face, and I want in reality to spend more time with the whole body and be able to draw the whole figure and add details and like make it move and have expressions and everything. So that's one of the goals of this quick process, is just to see the model, interpret it, and then build on top of that, and have fun when you can. And as soon as I start drawing the next one, I figure out the torso, the perspective that the torso will have, and then how like the limbs and everything start connecting. And I think about the structure, and then as I think about the structure, I think that what I need to make, and I start like molding the whole body first. And once I mold the body, I can start adding the limbs. I can start adding a little bit of the head. I can start adding the hat. Try to give it like, try to find the whole proportions with what I see from the model. You know, that's why you use the model too, to find the proportions quickly. And once you find the proportions, then you can add whatever you want. Then you can change the drawing. You can start playing with the pose even, and you will see that later on as I place with other things. I think like if the character has a pose and I can make a connection with something else, I'll try to do it. Like for example, I drew an object, something in her hand. I don't know exactly what it is, but I place like a piece of rice or something. I'm not sure. And as I draw, I start thinking about, okay, the chest. I start thinking about how I'm gonna place the arm that make it feel natural. Is it okay? Maybe the proportions are too much, and I don't mind much that the proportions are not right, because I like to play with that. I think it's something fun about it. Like you can have some drawings that the proportions are a little bit way too much, and they change. And that's the fun side of drawing. This is what I enjoy the most, to be honest, when I'm drawing. This is what brings me the most of the pleasure when I'm drawing, is being able to draw and do marks, and get the drawing going on. I think about style. I think what I see. I think about the mangas that I like to draw. So that I think about that. I try to think about the artists that I like. I try to remember other people drawing that position. I start thinking about all the things, the styles, and then as I go, I think about, okay, like the style of this guy, or I try to like based on the skeleton or the pose that I did, that what the style should look like. Also, I recommend all the time, even when you're drawing the characters, try to put something under, like some kind of surface that she's sitting on. So actually, it consolidates the drawing when you have an object in there. And in this stage of drawing, I think I have all I need, all the information. So this is when I jump to the next step, is to go sharp and then start adding and drawing, because I have all the skeleton, all the information that I want is already in the page. So now I can just draw on top of that. It's like placing all the marks and designing all the marks. So that makes the drawing more flexible. It makes you think twice. Maybe the shape that you did is not the right one, so you think about what it would be a nice shape for that. Maybe that angle is not right, and then I try to change it as I go. So it's like I'm correcting myself, and then trying to place, and I try to remember what are the marks that I need to make that part of the body read right and proper. And I try to make it round. I think about the roundness of the knees. I try to think about the perspective. I think about how it will look and the shape of it and round it. So then I move to the arms, and there's like another process of like redefining, maybe having a negative space there, trying to bring more three-dimensionality. Like now it's time to fill the arms, and this is when it gets a little bit more complicated. It's because now you have to find the right shape for the face, and sometimes at this stage is when I'm not seeing much of that model. I think the model already had the function is already done in that first stage when I'm rushing and I'm doing all the proportions and trying to capture everything as fast as I can. Because if I can figure out that first stage as fast as possible, then I have more time to clean the drawing and make it like look nicer. And that's what I do. When you have 3 minutes, is there's a that limit is a little bit hard because you really want to go to the second stage, and that 3 minutes you have to be able to warm up so you get that structure faster. So every time the minutes increase, then you already have a warm up brain ready to go. And this time and at this moment I try to think about expression, something cute. I think about the balance. I place the eyes in a way that makes the head look a little more three-dimensional, like probably turning around. And this is when the marks are really important. I try to make it like simple, because if you place the lines in the right place, then you are able to sell the drawing if you are really doing it proper and nice. And even when that expression is just there, it's like I know what is the expression that I did. And because it's loose, I sometimes create expressions that are really like natural, I guess. And that is reflected in the drawing too. When the character is doing an expression or is laughing or something and it's just like natural from the live drawing, my drawings tend to shine a little bit more because of that. I think, yeah, and 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 channeling that feeling there when I'm drawing, plus the model is there, so I feel like I'm at the moment building that, and that's where I enjoy what I enjoy the most. And probably this is me explaining and talking stuff with the model. And as I go, as a second round of drawings, this is the second drawing that I do. I feel like okay, now I get the costume. I'm adding more details now, like the lines on the boots, and then I'm thinking, okay, some edges, and then probably the hair length. I didn't have any hair in the other one, so now I can just think about those things because I'm going a little bit faster. And yes, like remember to add something on the bottom where she's sitting. She needs a seat. She needs a structure. Like, don't let the drawing float there. And now that I have this drawing and this pose how I want it, I try to lock the pose with a marker, and probably that's like a little bit pushing it too much because time wise I don't think I have enough time, so I rather do something with the drawing and talking, and I can add some details. Maybe I made up some detail. I try to remember a little bit of Evangelion. I think she's having a break, so as she's having a break, I can see her costume and then add details and stuff like that. So even when I'm during the break in a live drawing session, I see the model and I see the costume and I see, oh, okay, that costume has this thing here or has this thing there, and you can examine the costume of the model. So when you go, then now you have a better idea of what the costume is and how it's structured. So that's when I use a break sometimes, and I do that. The breaks are not that long, so if you have a chance to check the model, or you're having a trouble, or trying to understand something, that's a good time to see it, even get close to the model, say, hey, how are you doing, how's everything, and then you can see the costume and talk a little bit, and socialize. And um I wanted to talk now, like how I started drawing. As you can see, I had I placed first the head and then I work with the torso. Many people start with the head and then they can construct the figure, but for me, I like to find the head, the torso, and then as soon as I can, try to find that proportion of the body, the length of the arms and the length of the length of the torso and the legs and the head. So I try to figure out the proportions as soon as I can, and even I work with sticks, like stickman. People say, oh, I can only draw like stickman. Well, that's good because you can already draw something that has an edge. Okay, and so this is the core. This is the gesture drawing. The gesture now is done. I got the gesture, and now I can think about building the drawing. Okay, gesture is already there. Maybe I have to fix a few things. I can think about other things around. Like I can move things around. Sorry, and I can start drawing. Sometimes it gets difficult. It's not all the time easy, but sometimes I have to rethink again. Probably I went too fast doing the gesture, and I have to sometimes go a little bit slow and try to figure out better that angle and have the right structure. Try to figure out the distance between the legs. Now that I see the drawing, maybe one knee should be higher than the other one. So that's what I look for when I'm drawing this stage. And for me, sometimes it gets too dark. The pencil is too dark with the paper, so I go with my hand and just smudge the hell out of that paper. I don't care much. Studies and practice and all that. So I smudge that. It's like lowering the opacity in a Photoshop layer. And once I have that like toned down, I can start drawing and start adding details. I think this drawing I'm focusing a little bit more on the costume and how it looks like. And I'm looking more at the texture and the marks that it has. I think about the roundness. I think how it will be rounded and solid, and how the form should read. Like having a good overlapping. Think about the distance. Think about like the face. For me, one of the difficult parts of drawing the characters is drawing the head right. I need to take my time for the head. I try not to repeat myself when I'm drawing the head, which is hard because the poses that she's doing are similar. So it's hard to get those shapes. And the character is more like a manga, so the subtleties are not that strong, as if it was like realistic face. Because I'm not looking for the realistic. I'm looking for the fun of the pose. I'm looking for a character, and I'm looking for competition. Well, I guess I skipped that one for some reason. I don't think it was that successful. I think it was okay. And now I go. This is another drawing, and first as I said already, the torso. Find the torso, and then as soon as I find the torso, I think, oh, look at that shape, that the torso and the tilt, and how the straight hand makes like the pose stronger. I think about how the pose is relaxing, but at the same time has a good shape that is appealing. That's the point of the whole thing, make it like appealing. Because this one is a little bit more frontal. I have to I don't know if it's simple or easier. Easier or not, probably a little bit easier, but I already, as I have this gesture and I have that drawing just like that, I feel that it's already like pretty successful for just the study. I think it has a lot of like rhythm and shapes that are like connected, and I try to give the whole form to the body, make it more like make it female and sexy. I tried to think about, oh, she was like having her leg on top of a stool, and I didn't place the stool, and I thought about something else, something rounded, but I guess I doubted myself there. I think the proportions were a little bit smaller in the chest area, so I thought, okay, maybe if I can erase this or like make it lighter, I can correct and increase the size. I think that's one of the reasons that I did that. I'm not sure. So it depends how you want to tackle your life drawing. In this case, I think about, you know, just making the characters. I think it's a good exercise, like for drawing characters and everything. I think this have helped me a lot for the conventions, and at the same time, like drawing commissions and during the conventions, it helps to improve faster. But at that time, you don't have a model. So the more you do live drawings like this, then you start building poses in your head. You know, you can start building a library in your head of different poses, and that's what you bring when you have to when you have to draw on your own. Like the poses you have done here, try to remember what you did. Try to start placing limbs and start rotating the torso and start giving shape, and that's how you like translate the life drawing to your knowledge, to your drawing a long time, you know, without reference. And I think this drawing I'm struggling a lot because I went too fast, and you know that's something I have to like tell. Like, you know, sometimes it's not like all the drawings are gonna be amazing and it's just like, oh, just so much perfection or whatever. But there are times where the struggle is fucking real, you know. I'm trying to figure out the eyes, but then thinking about other things. Plus, I'm talking to the model at the same time. I was talking about something else, and whatever the fuck I was talking, it was distracting. And I think that's one of the things. I was just talking and I getting distracted, and I'm actually going really bad with this drawing. Like, I don't like it much, and I feel like I can finish that shit later. You know, I'll figure out something else. I'm more like waiting for the end of the post. So I say, okay, well, whatever. I'm just gonna like draw whatever I need. Maybe the face. Maybe add some expression, something, whatever. And like, well, I guess for the next one. And it's funny sometimes you do that. And you fix the drawing when you relax a little bit. You see, I'm not happy with that one. Not happy. Gotta go back. I have to go back and then work on top of it. Yeah, I don't think it's. I think what is failing here is that I'm not thinking about how the character is looking or what is she thinking or what is the reason that she got into that pose, you know. So I said, like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I think I'll do that shit later or something. So that's how it is. You have good drawings, you have shitty drawings, and I double check the type of pencil I'm using. I think I'm using for this paper a 2B or 3B. Lately, I found that HB and H are really good for the underdrawing sketch, and obviously they are better. But I'm talking about the brand that I'm using, and that brand like is really good with the pencils. I love the pencils and the pencils they produce. And for me, always H or HB was like hard, and I don't know, it wouldn't like translate well. But the HB for this brand is really good, so you can get a nice sketch done. So anyway, now moving to the drawing, I think this one I like it a lot because now I had some foreshadowing, I had a pose, I had a feeling. I think, okay, she's like fighting, and or like she's in like stance, and now I'm gonna have some fun when the poses are bringing something else. I think I told her, like, hey, what about if you're like fighting, like when you work with a model, like a private model, and you probably can tell, oh, you do this pose or more like action or whatever, and that will bring variety. Sometimes I say, oh, can you rotate or move around, because like I did that pose already, so you can direct a little bit that. and I think I like this drawing is a really good one, because I have all that torso, and it's turning way a little bit more, and I have to make it turn more. So that's why I use the lines of the costume to make that shape turn more. So that's what is important as you practice and do all of this, is think about the lines in the center. I think about I'm connecting some tubes, and they have to connect well at the very end. And connecting all those tubes and connecting all those lines and all the lines that I'm doing is because I have done a lot of like observation for the live drawing. These are making characters, but when I did a lot of live drawing in the past, I was really focusing on the drawing, how the shape of the hand look, or how certain areas or of the body look at that position, like the limbs, like especially the arms, the armpit shape, and the leg shape, and the torso shape. Those things I studied so I could bring that soft but still structure shape to the drawing. And yeah, I think like torsos are really important. And once you have a nice torso, and then you have like those thunder thighs, you can start making your sexy a little bit more your drawing a little bit more sexy, and then you can bring some fun. And also drawing shoes. I did a lot of drawing of shoes and high heels and stuff like that. I like to draw high heels. I think they're really cute, and it has a lot of angles, and can be a little bit complicated. But in this case, once you have like the idea how that high heel look, then you actually can rotate it and place it right to the drawing of the model. I think she didn't have those high heels, so I changed it and for something that I like, and I think that it will look good. Okay. And what else about this drawing? The hands. I'm telling myself, dude, you have to go and draw the face, and draw the face. Make her look to one side. I think that's a good one. Put the eyebrows, and then the nose, and probably the mouth. Put the mouth there. Whatever. She's like that. Still a little bit smiling. I think I'm talking about something. And now that I see, I think she should be more grumpy. She's like too happy. Yeah, I just like posting like this. That's happening if you get distracted too. I think I was talking while I was doing the expression, and when you do the expression, I don't talk. Cannot talk. Don't tell me anything, man. This is the most important part. You get that expression right, and the drawing doesn't communicate well. And that happens a lot in drawing, and showing facial expressions and all that is something that is really important. And I try with manga and anime because it's pretty simple, and it can bring a lot of emotions. Japanese are really good about doing that. See all the manga, easy lines, simple lines, but right lines. That's about anime, and the style of drawing that I do is about having the right lines. Instead of having a bunch of shading or think about shading, I don't think about shading at all in these drawings. I don't think I'm gonna shade something here. No shading. You have to bring that three-dimensionality with the lines. Because once you have the lines, the shading is another thing extra to make it look like rounded and make it look more three-dimensional. Okay, on this new drawing pose, I'll be exploring a little bit more of a dynamic pose or a dynamic sketch. I asked the model to have a more active pose, and she's using whatever is around to try to create that illusion that she's like advancing forward, like kind of like a ninja pose. I thought it was pretty cool. So instead of like going and looking to finish quickly the first stage of the sketch, I decided to spend more time trying to push the pose, and push it with kind of like with a curve going upward, and the legs and everything helping to propel the character forward, and yeah, placing most of the important things, maybe some hair like flowing. That thing, that kind of thought makes the character feel that like it's moving faster, or there's a movement, wind, and those are the things you have to think when you're drawing a pose like that. Is like, what else can the character, or what can I bring to the drawing that is not happening, and that can like create a better illusion of movement, and yeah, moving, and make it like more dynamic. So I work and I try to at least have that motion there. For those who are starting to draw and everything, this is more of a video to show you how you can change the way you approach live drawing. Not all the process are the same. It could be, sometimes people like to take more time, people want to be more artistic with it. In my case, I use the model to create the characters because this is something that I like to draw. And yeah, definitely I suggest you to go and do some live drawing and try to capture the proportions and capture the skeleton and the form of the figure as soon as you can. Maybe you can just, instead of like trying to go to the second step, you can draw and redraw again that initial pose, that initial gesture, so you have like a little bit of practice, because sometimes you might draw the gesture at the beginning and you might not feel right, and maybe you can do more exercise by doing a few of the same pose or the same gesture. And with the information that I have there, I think that was good enough. And the model changed the pose. I think it was more like 3 minutes pose, so it was getting a little bit tired. Then I realized, like, okay, I better be fast. And this one, I like this pose a lot because it has that pose of like Sailor Moon pose with the legs like looking like that. And she did an amazing thing with her arms that I found like really cool. And if I have to imagine this on my own, I will struggle for sure, because it's not something that I draw most of the time. And those are the things that you bring from the model to the drawing. You see the certain hand or a certain pose of the hand, or something that if you say that you will draw it on your own, you will have some trouble. So I go there and I tackle that. That's why I went to the arms and I focus a little bit more on there, because I knew I can draw the rest of the body and the torso, but I'm not sure if I was gonna be able to draw the hands and make it like look nicer. So I spend more time there, and then later on I focus on other things, and yeah, you can get distracted talking to the model and all that. But yeah, those are the things that I like to find first. Like you see, like even with those lines for the legs, I can place those lines like in the center or the side of the leg, or inside the leg. So the lines are just a guide. Those initial lines that I use more like for measurements, and having that measurement already, then I can just draw the lines that I need to draw. I think I explained this a little bit before. And if you are new to these kind of like drawings, like going to live drawings, or even if you have experience, I would definitely suggest approach these drawings in a fun way. I think many people have the habit of putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and they feel the pressure of drawing, and you have a lot of people drawing at the same time, so you might have some pressure because of that. But if you can like pass that, and then like focusing, and then you can have fun, Sometimes I know a lot of people that say, oh, I cannot draw well, I cannot do this or that, but I guess it's usually like they're afraid to show the work, they're afraid of like it doesn't look good enough. And you have to understand that some drawings are not going to look good. You want to have some mistakes and sometimes it won't work, but you go to the next one. And that's the thing, like you can move on to the next one and then come back to the other one that you were struggling, and then analyze where were you failing or where do you feel it could be better. Those are the skills to develop, is that auto correction. And if you feel there's something that is not right, then it might not be right, Sometimes you have to ask somebody to help you. Sometimes you don't see your own mistakes, but the more you can see your own mistakes or your I wouldn't say mistake, more like your misses, then you can correct yourself. Especially like when I'm doing this, I try to compare the limbs, the length of each limbs, the position that look natural, the head, how far is the head compared to the body, and how the neck is placed. It's really easy to make the mistake of drawing the head and the neck pretty stiff. Is because you're not thinking about how the neck is rotating along with the head. A little bit of tilt in the head will always bring more life to the character. That's something that many animators and many artists know. Like if you are gonna do like a drawing, try not to have like a straight profile or straight face, like full frontal. Or even like if it's the 3/4, it needs some tilt and some more angles to make it more natural. That happens a lot, especially if you're studying the eyes or the nose, or you're focusing on special feature. It might take you more time. It might be easier to fall into that habit of drawing the face like a little bit like too straight and less angles. And talking about the drawing, I see that the model has this pose, and I'm trying to arrange the lines of the costume so it brings that feeling of the drapery of the costume wrapping around the body. Those are really important things. If you have those lines that are wrapping around, it sells that feeling that the torso has a certain angle and there is some fat or whatever. And this one was another one that was fast, but again, I can go back to the drawing and I can go and try to finish it. You can even use a translucent paper or like tracing paper, and then you can draw on top of your drawing, and then fix and modify and push the pose. So that's a good way to do it, and I have done it many times. When I'm drawing full illustrations, I draw all over again and I draw all over again because I feel like it can be better until I'm pleased enough. Then I say, okay, that's good enough for what I need, And feel free, if you can, or if you are lucky enough to find a model that will turn around, that will give you different angles, then enjoy that. Don't always look for the frontal or the easiest way of the drawing. Sometimes it's good to challenge yourself and go on the sides of the model or around the model, and then try to approach a different drawing, a different angle for the limbs and the torso and everything. It might not be a drawing that you will use to explore a full character, but it will give you that extra knowledge of like drawing that pose or drawing that angle of the limbs or whatever in future drawings. So everything that you practice is a good habit, And even here, when I'm drawing all of this, I practice a lot of trying to visualize in my head this cylinder or a shape, like the rounded shape of the butt, or the legs are like a cylinder. So I try to imagine them as a cylinder, but instead of going with straight lines, I go around and I make it more rounded and more nicer. So as I work, I like to correct myself, as I was saying before. And in this case, this is a very tricky way of drawing, I feel sometimes. Like I try to think on how I can draw the lines without building all the construction or everything. Since I have the model, I'm trying to economize a little bit the process and make it faster. And so yeah, and you see the size I'm working with. I think it's a good size to add all the details that I need. I can go smaller than that, but I feel that this size is good enough, and the paper is not that expensive anyway, so I can spend a lot of sheets doing that. And if I like it, I can ink it, scan it, and make it look nice in digital. Here I'm measuring the distance between the leg and the other leg and the distance between them. You see, I usually make a line, and that line has to have some kind of perspective or relationship between each other. And I guess here I'm having a little bit of trouble placing the legs that is behind and the leg that is in the front. Sometimes the angle and the perspective can be tricky. So yes, I would say aim to have the gesture and everything down as soon as possible. First, I like to go with the line for the gesture of the torso. I find the torso, I know now the perspective, and then I start like building a little bit more. I go for the legs to start placing the character on the ground, and then getting that gesture, and then connecting the torso and everything. Then I place the head, and then I go with the arms, try to put that arms there, and if I have the angle of the limbs and everything, I can go there and then start playing, even do something with the hair, and then I can start exploring. At this stage, I'm already warm up, so I feel more confident, and even I can talk a little bit more and then draw on everything. That line there in the chest is more to remember, and as a note, what is the roundness and what is the perspective of that rib cage. Also, as you see the knees, I like to draw a line just to place the knees on the right level. And I don't know what happened here. I guess I screwed up, or I just gonna try and then try to finish the drawing just like that. So I definitely encourage to obviously go to live drawing and try to simplify your process. And I don't know what is your current level that you might have right now. Maybe you're having a lot of trouble with those, with those techniques that I'm teaching or telling you right now. It takes time to be able to do this kind of drawing like this, but it's really rewarding. And that involves, like, if I have to give you like a ingredient list, it will be anatomy, understanding of the anatomy, understanding of solidity of forms, understanding the connection, understanding overlapping of figures or elements, and character. Try to push the pose. And when I say push, it's not always too exaggerated. Sometimes just a little bit to make it look better. It happens that sometimes you're drawing like, I feel that leg, if it was just a little bit open or further away, then it will make it like stronger. So the more you do quick gestures, the more you will understand how to balance that gesture, that first dynamic gesture that you are trying to accomplish. Okay. And here again, I go for the eyes and add the details that I need, just in case I want to finish this drawing later, which I will. And just by having that's all I need. And probably I need to place the feet and the high heels. And once that is done, I think I'm pretty much done. I can say anything to the model. She can take a break, and I can just keep drawing and exploring. So these videos were a little bit of fun to make, because I wanted to show you the process that I do when I do live drawing. And if you have questions about it, or if you feel like this is too advanced or anything, then let me know. I can do something more simple. but I just wanted to show you how I deal with it and what I'm thinking when I'm doing drawing with the model, and what is the process in general. I'd like to thank everybody first on Patreon who have been supporting the creation of these tutorials. The camera I used to record this was given by Patreon, so I'm really thankful for all the support I've been given, especially with my work, and you guys are amazing. So I hope this video helped you to understand a little bit more of drawing the figure and the costume. If you have any other questions, definitely let me know. Remember to support the videos and support the new artwork. And if you want me to expand on this, just send your questions, okay?